Hey y'all, from Spindle Mountain Mercantile. I am Heather. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Mama and I are working on another Valentine video for this weekend, but today I'm upcycling plates. Project number 1. For a very long time, I have wanted to make a wreath with plates on it, but I'm afraid. Well, then I found these little tiny plates in my stash. They're about as big as the palm of my hand. And I thought, now I can do it. I can do it. They have holes in the back, so they are made to hang on a wall. You know, you put string or fishing line in them. I thought I could put wire in them and wire them to a wreath. So I'm making a wreath out of this grapevine. I don't remember where I bought it. Maybe Amazon. I will try to remember to look for some for y'all and leave a link. You can probably get it at craft stores like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, I'm guessing. So I cut the wire, and you'll see I cut it in thirds. This is just floral wire that I got at Dollar Tree, and it's a pretty small gauge. I cut it in thirds thinking that would be long enough. It actually wasn't. I had to go back later and cut it in half. I decided that winding the grapevine around 3 layers was a good enough diameter that it matched how small the plates were. Then I took the wire and I wrapped it around where the 2 ends meet, and I added 3 more wires where I thought the plates would look good. One of the things I didn't want from the plates is I did not want them to look like Mickey Mouse. It's the month before Valentine's when I'm making this, so I did think a heart shape would look nice, but I made them just a little bit off-centered. And that way it doesn't look like, the big mouse. You don't have to use plates that have the holes in them. You can use any plates to make a plate wreath. Amazon has those stick-on plate holders. And the other day I watched Bailey from Reclaim Grace make a plate wreath, and she used those. She said they worked, and she felt like they wouldn't make the plates fall off, but she would have felt better if they were more secured. So she would have recommended one of those things that has like a claw that grabs the plate on each end and like coils in the middle. You know what? I have one I'm using later on in today's video. So when we come upon that project, keep your eye open and you'll know what I'm talking about. I think that's what Bailey was talking about as well. I will leave a link for both of those in the description. Right now, I'm adding some of that lamb's ear, I believe it's called. I love that stuff. It feels all velvety, and it's just such a pretty soft color. I just put some stems in on both sides of each plate to see what it looked like, and that was a little too much. I realized that each stem has all of the leaves facing inward, so I just took one section and flipped it around, and now they were all facing the same direction. I put one stem behind each plate, and that worked perfectly. I turned the wreath over and wrapped those wires around. I didn't glue them yet because I still want to make absolutely sure. But with every single wire I did into this wreath, I made sure I put the wire inside that grapevine because I don't want somebody to grab it and get a piece of wire poked into their sweet little finger. Both of the holes on each plate are on one side. So when I put them on the wreath, they laid a little bit different than I had planned. I did have to move the wires when I figured that out, but I had to move the wires anyway because they really were too short. These beautiful muted mauve roses are from the thrift store. When I got that haul after Joanne Fabric donated all of their floral when they went out of business. Man, I wish I could get a haul like that again. Of course, you can use any colors you want. I decided on these muted colors because it was more of a winter vibe, but something that could still be used for all seasons. I only had 2 of those big flowers, so I added greenery around those, and then I put the same greenery around the 3rd plate. Then I found some smaller floral that complemented the larger flowers with their size, their color, and their shape. And I added about 4 of those. I think 3 were on the same stem. Next, it was time to make the bow. And first, I made way too big of a bow. I Didn't realize it though until it was all the way on. So I just took it off and used that same piece of burlap ribbon to make a smaller bow. Making these bows is super easy. I did a tutorial about it, and I will try to remember to put that link in the description. If I don't, please remind me. All you do is start by making a loop, and you leave the tail as long as you want it. Maybe a little bit longer, because you can always cut it, but you can't make it longer. Then you bring the burlap back towards you, make another loop, gather where those two loops meet, make another smaller loop over the first one, and then come back towards you and make another smaller one over your second loop. So now you have 4 loops, the top 2 being a little bit smaller than the first 2. Make one more small loop, and the end of that loop is the other tail. Put a floral wire through the smallest loop and pull it around to the back and twist it. Then use that wire to attach the bow to the wreath. At this point, I went back over the backs of each plate and made sure all of the floral was glued to something, so either another piece of floral, the plate, or the wreath itself. Just enough so they wouldn't fall out of place. I wanted another piece of burlap from which I could hang the wreath, so I took a strip about maybe 12 inches long and I folded it over. Then I took a piece of floral wire and wove it in and out of both ends so that I could gather it together. Then I twisted that wire around itself so that the gather wouldn't come apart, and I used that wire to attach it to the back of the wreath right behind the top of the bow. I used my glue gun to attach the small loop of the bow to that strip so that you couldn't see down inside of those, and it looked like one continuous part of the bow. I turned the wreath over and used a smaller wire to put through just the back piece of burlap, and I twisted those ends together to make a loop. Then I took the loop and twisted it together at the middle so it makes a figure 8, and now I have something I can use to hang my wreath on a nail. And now you might be thinking to yourself, oh, Heather's done. Well, I thought the same thing, but my sweet husband said no. Those plates are too plain. You need to add some floral to those. So I got out my trusty Menagerie IOD transfer book and found 3 florals that really complement the florals I used behind each of the plates. I cut those out to fit the plates, and there were different little leaves and stems that I cut off and then reattached so that they would be a smaller gathering, so it wouldn't go over the side of the plate. I'm not going into great detail on how to apply IOD in this project, but in project number 3, there's a pretty extensive tutorial on how to apply IOD transfers. So I'm just going to speed this up a bit and let you watch while I apply the transfers. Because these plates aren't going to be used as plates, I didn't think I needed to seal the transfers. And you know what that means? It means I'm done with my very first plate wreath, and I couldn't be more proud of myself. In the comments, tell me what you think. Project number 2. I got this for half price on the clearance price of $197 marked down from $10. So I paid 98 cents for this at Dollar General. Hi, Tilly Bell. She's so sweet. It was clearance from last summer. It says Faith, Hope, love. And I really like that. I also like the crosses, but it didn't sell. So we're going to zhuzh it up a bit and change it, make it a little bit more of what people are looking for at my booth. The hanger is here, so it hangs this direction. We're going to make it hang from this direction. So we'll change it from portrait to landscape. I like to save all of our hardware. There's no telling where we can use these little screws and the washers that go with them, so I'm going to set those aside. And when I remove the sawtooth hanger, I'm going to put the screws back into it and take a regular piece of Scotch tape, put it over the tops of the screws and wrap it around the back and make sure I seal it all the way across where the tape meets over itself. And I'll set it aside and use it for another project. I do believe my 80s ladies would say this was grody to the max. I cleaned this with an alcohol-soaked wipe, and check it out. Ugh. And it got worse, y'all. It got much worse. And this was just in my she shack, which is sealed. It's not like weather is getting in there. Yeah, isn't that nasty? Ugh. All right, so I'm using two different kinds of Debbie's DIY. I'm using Haint Blue from the Cottage Colors, and from the DIY line, I'm using Apothecary. You have to mix these really well. I have this rechargeable frother and it works good in the smaller jars, but I prefer to use the handheld submersible blenders. I have both of these. I keep this one in my workstation, and on both of them I use just the milk frother attachment. I will leave a link for these in my description. If you buy something from Amazon by using my link to get there, they will give me a small compensation, but they won't raise your price. And listen, just because you use my link to get there, don't buy what I'm getting you if it's not what you really want. Look at the research and the ratings and get exactly what you want. I'm going to put the light color on the plates and the darker color, the Apothecary, on the board. I did think about doing everything one color. It just seemed like it would be nice to have a little bit of contrast between light and dark blue. If you don't want to get paint on the back of the plates, you could use a smaller brush that would just go right up to the plate on the wood. I'm okay with it. I think it's going to look nice from the sides. Plus, I don't have to be so perfect, right? That's nice. I did some of these plates before and showed y'all, and one of them fell off and broke. I did not. It wasn't because I didn't use a good enough hanger on the back. It's because I put the hangers on and then just put it up. I didn't let it sit at all. And that was my mistake. And it almost immediately fell off. It fell off within an hour, I guess. And it shattered. That's okay. It's okay. It's all right. We're good. The Cottage Colors by Debbie's DIY are a collaboration between Debbie Beard and Jamie Ray Vintage. They are a 3-in-1, one-step paint. So it has the primer, the paint, and the sealer. So I won't have to seal this paint. I like my brush strokes to go the same direction, so we're going to do that. This will take at least 2 coats. I might put 3. The secret is to make sure your surface is very clean. For the wood, I ended up using 1 coat of Apothecary, and as it dried, I added a little bit more touch-up. For the plates, I used 2 coats of Haint Blue, letting the first one dry in between and adding a little bit extra to the second one as it dried. When IOD released their Christmas line this last Christmas, I was so surprised that Clementine was my favorite one. It's beautiful, y'all. I think I'm on my 4th book. I was going to add letters to this, like maybe EAT, but with the little banners that are on these florals, I didn't need to add any wording. I took off the protective sheet, and I'm going to lay this down so that it's the part that I want most of it to show is centered. I don't want that leaf to be up there. I want it to be just like this. I am using the grid marks, by the way, to make sure that it goes straight across. I don't think it would really matter with these, but sure is helpful to have the grid marks for that purpose. Just going to work my way out gingerly from the center. I will not skip this part, but I probably will speed it up greatly so you can see the entire process and won't miss anything. There will be places where it might overlap and maybe have a little wrinkle, and I'm okay with that. With curved surfaces, sometimes it just happens. Because this banner goes all the way across, I didn't want it to be wrinkly and have any letters out of place, so I started with that and worked all the way across the banner, and then I worked out from there to the rest of the plate. This pomegranate got a little bit of a scratch on it, so I just brought in some berries and leftover floral from a different piece and brought it over the edge so it overlaps the part where I messed up, and it looked perfect. Can't even tell. The plates don't have to be sealed because I painted cottage color on them and it has a built-in sealer, but the wood does need to be. Instead of just doing the wood, I decided to do everything with the same sealer. I'm using Debbie's Dark Wax, and I'm just going to put a thin coat over the plates so the sheen will match the wood. You just put a little bit on and then you wipe it off. You know, wax on, wax off. I used a brush to make sure I got all of the underneath section of the plates and the wood covered all the way up to where the plates are glued onto the wood. I didn't film it, but my sweet husband put 2 D-rings on the back and we were done. I can't believe how gorgeous this is. I want it in my own home. Project number 3. I think originally I got this platter in a yard sale box with a bunch of stuff I paid one price for. So, I mean, seriously, it was probably 5 cents, maybe 10. But it has a big chunk out of it. So, you know, we were going to toss it. And I was like, no, don't throw away that perfectly good broken platter. I can fix it. And I did. This only took 1 coat. There is a crack. I don't know if I showed you that earlier. Or a chip, a big chip. And, you know, I was thinking about putting it up here. I'm going to try to find some flowers that match this. And if I put this like this, I feel like it needs to be on top. That's why. So it's on top. Applying IOD transfers is super easy. You simply cut out the design how you want it and you make sure it fits in your project. Right here, I'm not going to cut this because I want it to go right exactly up here, and I found it's easier to not cut it until I actually get there. And I was also thinking about maybe tilting it a little like this and making it go longer. I just feel like this is the right way to do it. Okay, I want to make sure that this goes straight across if I have the plate like this. I'm not putting a hanger on the back of this plate. I would, but it's super heavy. I'm going to cut the protective sheet so that it's still connected at this limb. Okay, let's see if we can do this. You know what? This little leaf right here doesn't exactly fit. So I'm going to cut him out all the way down to the bottom of his stem. And I'll set him aside, face up, and I'll put him back on when we're done. All right, so once you know it's exactly where you want it, lay it down and give it a pretty good rub with your hand. Make sure you don't like press on this plastic. This plastic with the grid is called a carrier sheet. You don't want to push it. You just want to rub more pressure going downwards instead of to the side, because if you push it, you could move it, because this isn't what is really making it stick. This is doing what I call giving it the initial stick. This is a transfer stick. It's just a piece of plastic that comes in every IOD transfer packet. Use it to rub over the entire surface of your transfer on top of the plastic carrier sheet. I don't know if you noticed this plate has a relief design, and a relief design can go up or it can go into your object, and this one goes into it. Can you see that? I don't know. I'll try to move it here in the light so you can see this shadow from it. So I don't know if this is going to go down into all of those, so I'm going to use my fingernail, and where I feel those little indentations from the relief pattern, I'm going to use my fingernail down inside of those. Here's one right here. This one kind of moves around. Don't think there's any others. Now, sometimes you can't get the carrier sheet up, and I'm always afraid I'm going to scratch it if I put my fingernail under there. So I have found if I use either a piece of the carrier sheet or a piece of the protective sheet underneath, I can get it started and lift it up just enough to get my fingernail under there, or my finger. So as I pull the carrier sheet away with one hand, I'm using my other hand to rub right where it pulls away, and I continue doing that as I pull. Sometimes I do just a corner at a time, and sometimes I start with a flat edge and come forward. This one, because it has all these little indentations, I'm just going to kind of feel where it releases. You'll get used to it. You'll start to understand. Another little tip right here where I cut that leaf off, there's a very abrupt edge that starts right where the picture ends. If I'm rubbing with this and I go off of the edge, it might scratch the paint. It probably will. This paint is not sealed, so I don't want to do that. I'm just going to make sure I go right up to the edge when I get to that point, and I'll just go very gingerly pull as I rub at the place where it's coming away from the plate. If your transfer is not sticking to the object, that's okay. Just lay it back down. Here, I'll actually lift this up kind of fast and show you what I'm talking about. All right, see all these little pieces here? You lay it back down and rub where those pieces are. And I think there's one over here. There. Rub it again, and that should make it stick. If it doesn't stick, that means your object is either dirty, or maybe you didn't let the paint dry. I have put transfers on almost every surface I can think of, and it works. It sticks pretty good. Sometimes it just happens, and I'm not sure what the key is always, but for me, it's almost always that I haven't let my paint dry. Okay, when I'm doing this, I'll zoom in here so you can see better. I'm just going to rub this. I'm going to rub my finger because there's some of those indentations. I think I got them all. I'm going to pull it up, and I'm only going right to that edge. So hopefully it will just break off where it's supposed to. Let's see. Pretty good. All right. And I could save that or not. Looks like a finger from one of those trees in the forest that grabs kids. There is a little bit here. I don't like how it went up there, but check this out. I'm just going to scratch it off with my nail. There's this little second ridge down in here, or maybe it's the first ridge. You could use an X-Acto knife right there. That worked, though, for me. I like it. Okay. You have to burnish it, and burnishing just means that you rub the entire thing so that all the little nooks and crannies are full and adhered. A lot of people use this. Some people use this, especially when it's something I feel like it might pull. I like to use my fingertips because sometimes when I'm using that stuff, I can feel it catch, and it's like, ah, and it pulls it off. I don't want that. And so if it starts to catch when I'm using my fingertips, I can feel it. And I can just rub a little bit more gently. So right here, oh, see, I don't know if you can tell, but that little tiny piece came off. So if I was using that plastic sheet and that little tiny piece came off, it would pull across and be like, you know, when a snowball goes across the snow and it gathers other snow with it, that's kind of what happens, and it'll make a line in your picture, and nobody wants that. Now we're gonna add some little birds. I was thinking I could just put this little limb right up in there, and if it didn't match all the way, I will cut off that other limb I said looks like a finger, and I'll blend it in. Guess I'll start pulling here because that leaf is coming off just right. There's lots of those little indentations along here, so I'm just going to use my finger now and go kind of slow. I'll turn it around this way so y'all can see. Boy, this sticks very well. A lot of people seal Debbie's clay-based paint. Did I say chalk-based earlier? I didn't mean to. Hey, if somebody says I said chalk-based in the comments, I'll know you didn't listen to the rest of it. Oops. That's okay. I don't listen to everything either. A lot of times I'll just watch, and if I miss something that I think, oh, I need to know what they just said there, or if it's funny or whatever, I'll rewind it and go back and listen. Oh, I was saying, Debbie's DIY paint has to be sealed because it's water soluble. So it can be wiped off with water. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can't believe this. Y'all, this is going to sell so quick. I was thinking something like this that would tie in with the Apothecary, but I don't think I like that. I love this green one, but I don't know. We'll see what happens when I put this up here. I really like these flowers, these little ones. Oh, they're just perfect, but they're very long. So we're going to cut these off. You don't want to cut them off super far up, because if you do, then the pieces on the top will come apart. If it's a flower that has a whole bunch of layers like this one, and you cut it too far up, all of these different layers will come out. It's not as important with this, but see this has like 3 layers. So plus the plastic, it has this piece of plastic right here, which keeps it open. And it has 2 pieces here, the little tiny parts and the one big part. So we don't want to cut that too far either. I'm just going to fill in that spot where it's chipped and start laying stuff down on top of it, meaning the greenery. I'm going to try to keep all the glue underneath where the flowers will be. I found all these flower heads on Amazon. I will leave a link for that in the description. When you try to find flower heads, make sure to go to the picture that shows all of the dimensions, the sizes, how many of each flower you get, and the colors. It shows everything. Just make sure you get exactly what you want. Because Apothecary is a clay-based paint, it must be sealed, and for that I'm using Debbie's DIY Dark Wax. There's 2 reasons I'm using this. I like the way it makes things look a little bit older, and also, I don't know if you noticed up close, but this plate had a lot of crackle, and I want that to show off. So I thought if I used this, it will either go on the crackle and make the crackle part darker, or it will go in between the crackle and the lines will actually be a little bit lighter than the flat surface. In the end, the lines did turn out lighter, and it is just stunning. I did find one of those claw hook things to hang it with, probably called something simple like plate hanger, and now this discarded platter that was destined for the dump has been transformed into beautiful wall decor. Project number 4. I guess I paid $1.25 for this at the thrift store. I'm just going to take that off. Don't know if this is gummy or if it's rust. It has a hole in it right here, so I have to remember that's the top. Apparently it was the bottom, so I guess they hung it upside down with that. I'm going to paint this whole inside area with Apothecary. Wow, that's not sticking very good. I wonder if my alcohol wipe wasn't wet enough. Don't like that. let's wipe it off and try something different. See what happens. I am quite certain had I painted that with Debbie's Salvation solution first, the paint would have adhered. But I don't have that with me. I do have Cottage Color in Haint Blue, so I'm just going to try that and see what happens. And after I did 2 coats, I just had to do a little tiny bit of touch up, and it stuck really good, and it didn't scratch off. I'm using Traditional Pots IOD Transfer to add some different designs to where I've painted the plate. These are blue. They have black, white, and this pretty blue color in this book. And I just thought this blue would be pretty, so I'm cutting out different element to mix and match. Man, I'm telling you, this Debbie's DIY Cottage Color, IOD sticks to them so well. Because there's so many design elements where it says Duncan Hines and all that, I'm using my fingers to burnish it. This project was so fast. It probably took less time to make it than it did to gather together my supplies, which in this day and age isn't easy because my stuff is everywhere. We're working on that though. I'm going to have a place to stay and work very soon. I'm using a small ribbon that I put both ends through the hole and then I pulled it back through itself and I tied a knot. Then where the knot is, I tied a little bow and then I did a double bow with that so it won't come untied. And this pretty little wall plate was finished. Did y'all have a favorite today? I did not. I like them all. Legit, for the reals. I like them all for different reasons. Of course, I'm super proud of the plate wreath, and it has my heart. But look at this. These 3 plates and the platter. I can't believe how good the platter turned out. I never would have thought it would be that beautiful. And even this little pie plate with the simplicity of what I did to it, it's such a transformation, and I really like it. I am so glad y'all found my channel today. If you are new, please think about subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you won't miss any future uploads. And to those of you who are returning, welcome back. I sure do love y'all. I'm so grateful for you. I hope until you see me and my mama again next time, you have a wonderful week. And as always, I hope you are blessed. Bye.